Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Things in My Head podcast. My name is Jenny, and I am here with a very special guest,
Saraiah.
All right. I know you guys already saw her on last week's episode with Lauren, but we just had to snag her for one more episode. And can I say, I'm so forever grateful for you being on with us. I think this is, we've had Brooke, we've had Lauren, but I'm excited that we're kind of branching out and having new guests. So truly, I appreciate it that you came on, that you're willing to talk. I know talking on a podcast can be kind of different and difficult. So yeah, and I think we have a lot of interesting things to talk about.
I think so too.
We've worked together for a while and we've known each other for a good minute. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how our personalities have blended. I've always thought to myself, you're the kind of person that I don't know if I would have been friends with if I didn't work with them. So I think because our hobbies are very different. You're sports, I'm kind of like video games and weird stuff.
But we share the love for coffee.
And that's what's important. And I think that's our Latin roots, which I think we'll get into a little bit. We are filming this in September. I don't know if this will go out in September, but it is Mexican Heritage Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, Latin American Heritage Month?
Hispanic.
So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that just to celebrate that. I feel like we always celebrate Cinco de Mayo, but Mexico's true Independence Day is September 16th.
Yes.
All right. So if you want to follow us on anything, that is Things in My Head podcast here on YouTube. I'd super appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Things in My Head podcast. Email us at thingsinmyheadpodcast@gmail.com. We also work at the wonderful, amazing Brooks Boutique. If you ever want to have an amazing luxury find, that is where you go. brooksboutique.com. We update the website constantly with new amazing designer arrivals. And we have an Instagram, Love Brooks Boutique. Same on TikTok, Love Brooks Boutique again. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, you'll see Lauren. She does all the amazing lives. Saraiah and me get up there sometimes as well, just to help her out a bit. That's going to be Brooks Boutique Pearland on Facebook, I believe. Oh, and if you ever need a realtor, never want to forget this one, Sweet and Petite Duo. Cecile and Brooke do an amazing realty team. So you get basically the price of one, but you get two people working on your case to help you find your home or help you sell your home. So if you know somebody or you are that person, then I would be super excited to refer you to them. That is Sweet and Petite Duo. Sorry if you guys can hear the lawn thing on the outside. We are running late, so we will have to have that in. Other than that, I think we could roll into the episode. I think we'll start with our management styles being very different.
Yes.
And I think that I've always worked kind of in a small, whenever I've had a management role, it was because I was in the small business. I never had that anywhere else in jobs. So I think that's why my approach has always been very adaptable, because in a small business, things change all the time and you kind of just have to put on whatever hat comes your way. If a crisis arises, you just have to be the person that figures out how that works and just get it done kind of thing, versus you're kind of coming from a background where things have rules, they're set in stone, and it's not flexible, so that you bring that stability to the boutique. And I don't think we've ever had that, which was, I think, good and refreshing. We needed it, because if we would have grown without it, I think we'd be in a very different place.
Absolutely. So. And to Jen's point, that's what we need to in the business that we're currently in with consignment. We do need this. Here we go. Oh no,
it's okay.
We do need the softness of the flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that kind of in a hard way. It was a hard adjustment for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know, as we talked with Lauren, I'm a very structured A, B, C, D. It has to go in there. Mm-hmm. It has to go in that order. Sometimes you can add a A1. Sometimes you can add a V2. But For the main points, it's A through Z always. And with Jen, it's like, we can skip a few, right?
I feel like for me, I'm more like, did we get to where we needed to go?
Yes.
And I also don't record the steps on how I got there.
Yes.
I'm just like, we got there. Hooray.
Yes.
Like, and Cecile just high fives me and she's like, we did it. It's done.
Yes.
She doesn't ask me like, how did you get that done? Or, that kind of thing. I'm just like, yeah. I think we also me and her have worked together for a very long time. We have a lot of trust within each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that was why we get to work that way. But I can understand as you're coming in, you're seeing this person that's kind of like just reveling it out, doing whatever it takes to get things done, not writing things down, not recording nothing. And you're probably like, well, what kind of disorganized place am I working at right now?
No, it's admirable. Like I said, it's admirable. I cannot.
You're like, the chaos scares me.
Controlled chaos is what I'm about.
Okay.
Controlled chaos, not just
like pure chaos. Like when you work with me, I make a total mess. Like everything is, the staplers everywhere, tickets are thrown everywhere, but everything I know where it is. It's like, it's a fine balancing act, but most people are like, oh my God, Jen, you are so messy. Put the hangers away. I'm like, no. Like I do everything specifically. I'm getting it done very quickly.
Yes.
And efficiently.
Yes.
And, I try not to miss a step.
and with I would say to bounce off with you with that is, you have to respect the person. You have to respect the person. Because I'll get on to her, Jen, and she's like, I know. And I'm like, okay. As long as you know.
And also, I think we worked really well together because your sternness doesn't faze me.
Yeah,
when you're
exactly.
stern with me, I don't take I'm a very I don't take things personally. I really don't. I know that we're trying to get to A to B, and I'm messing that up somewhere. So honestly, I'd rather somebody have my six or, have my back, watch my back, and tell me before I mess everything up. And then I'm really feeling guilty and terrible. So I rather have that. And I also think that's why me and Cecile work really well together, because I am just like, you know what? You're right. We missed it. So I can kind of go back and forth and I don't ever take anything to heart.
Yeah.
So it does not faze me when you're stern. And I feel like you get to exercise your sternness on me.
Sometimes. No, but I love that you, that's why it's a little more difficult for me to follow Cecile. Mm-hmm. Cecile and I always have to ask Cecile questions, and I do feel bad.
You guys are type A, I feel.
Yes, but she's like you, where she kind of follows how she's like, however to get there, there isn't a process. Not always. Like her thoughts when she wants something done, no matter what it is to get done, she wants it done. So, and in my head, I always have to ask her questions. Well, do you mean like this? And she'll be like, oh, not necessarily. And then Jen's like, don't worry about it. I got it.
I'm like, don't worry about the details. Just get to the destination.
And in my brain, again, because I'm very structured, I'm like, okay, so we have to do this in order to do this, in order to do this, in order to do this. And she's like, yeah, or you could do this. And I'm like, whoa, that skips steps A, B, and C. How do we land on G? So
we throw the dice, baby.
So it's great because of the way y'all are able to. And then Jen too, she'll take the reins sometimes, and she's like, I know Cecile, I know she's gonna ask this question, so just be prepared for that. And it's like, okay, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And I know the conversation sounds very general, but if you work in the boutique and you see us on the day-to-day on our Facebook Lives, you know how Cecile also too, she's very very conversation driven as well. Like she is here sporadic, and it's great. And it keeps us lively.
I was going to say,
honest.
Somebody needs to come in and be like the lively person, bringing the team. It's also good for team morale to have somebody kind of bringing energy to the team because we're there all the time. So it's easy for us to just get humdrum on the like mundane. And then there's somebody coming in all the time, kind of like shaking that up, making it different. And giving us new challenges at all times. Keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, Cecile keeps us young.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And I say that for me because Lauren and I are very head down driven people. I'm going to put my little tunnel vision on and get through it. And I'm learning that in life, that's not always the easiest way to do things. So when Cecile comes in and she's like, hey guys, let's do this. Let's change it up. But I was like, I was just working on this task. I can't finish this task and jump onto something else. But then that's something personal that I got to work on, learning to jump on different tasks. Even though I'm a good multitasker, if I have my head set to finish one thing and I don't get it done, it throws me off completely.
Don't talk to Saraiah when she's writing an email. That's all I gotta say.
Yes,
she will be like, shh, 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 shh. I'll just be talking about the most random thing, and Saraiah will be like, I am trying to type an email right now, Jen, please. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll be quiet.
But I think that's. I love it. I love working with you, truthfully, I love working with you.
Yeah. I think, I honestly, I love working with you and Lauren. I feel like I've really found a friendship with you guys that I didn't know I was going to find. I didn't know I needed it until I found it, kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it's just been a good thing. I think we have different management styles, but that's also is a good thing. Like, it needs to be diverse in a lot of different ways so that so everything feels fair, I feel like, you know? So I think that that's really good. And I learn from you and you kind of learn from me. So it's kind of like a good thing to be like, okay, this is how somebody else does it. And I should probably take some things from that. And then, and then it's kind of like a vice versa symbiotic thing that's like feeding off of each other. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Jen.
Yeah. I guess to kind of like go into another topic, I did want to talk a little bit about our heritage just because we're both Latin American. Your family is Mexican. Mm-hmm. Both parents are Mexican.
Yes.
And my family my mother is Mexican and my father is Colombian, from Colombia. So he came here when he was 19 years old and started his roots and started a family. And became a United States citizen. So he's a full-fledged United States citizen. He did that when I was in high school. So yeah, and your family has been here in the States.
So my grandparents came over from Mexico. So my mom was born here. I'll just reference my mom's family because I'm not, no real correlation to my dad's family as much. So I don't know anything of where they come from Mexico. But my grandparents, like I said, came here. My mom was born here, and so were my aunts and uncles. And then, of course, me. I was the first grandchild. I am the first baby of the family. Yeah. And so a lot of the core values that my grandparents, you know, had with my mom kind of changed a little as she was raising me, because they kind of raised me too. She did raise me as a single mother. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the traditional cultural things that we're used to in a Mexican household didn't fully transfer to myself. That's what I was going to
ask you. So I feel like because when my dad got here, he really wanted to embrace being an American. He wanted to kind of leave his own culture a little bit behind and make sure that we assimilated. And it was more so he worried about us being picked on for being different. So he wanted us to be, you know, super Texan, super American, spoken. Oh, we make it. All right. Well-spoken. And like we celebrated Go Texans Day. We never really celebrated too many like Latin things. Of course, we spoke Spanish in the household only because it's my parents' is basically first language, and my grandmother lived with us and she only spoke Spanish. So we spoke a lot of Spanish because of that. And I was curious to see if you guys tried to do the more like Americanized thing, because I know that people go either two ways. They either stick with their culture and they like heavily stick with it, embrace it, or they kind of try and assimilate to where they're living now. So I was curious if your family was the same way.
I think it was the fine balance of, obviously you're going to learn English. You have to learn English. But my grandparents only spoke Spanish. And so growing up, it was Spanish in the house. And then, of course, English. And then somewhere, so this is a very odd story, but I ended up in English as a second language. I think my second grade year, or like whenever I was in second grade, because I transferred schools. And I was very confused. I was like, why are these people talking to me in Spanish in a school setting? And I told my mom, and my mom was like, what? I said, yeah, girl, they got me they teach me in Spanish. And I was like, and I don't understand those words.
I was going to say.
It's a very, school setting is different. Obviously, the Spanish is more, it's more formal.
Yeah.
Versus, the Spanish that you learned growing up is informal, especially when you're learning how to speak. You don't grasp words that
it's
well.
kind of like the English, like you study English even when you're like an English speaker, right? So it's the same with Spanish. There's a higher level to the language, of course, in any language, I feel. I have kind of the opposite. What they would do is that if they had a Spanish person that couldn't speak very well English, because I spoke kind of both, they always were like, Jen, help them.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm already like really dyslexic and I need help.
So you can't be the help.
I'm trying to translate to help somebody, and I can't even read the English.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So I just remember feeling extremely awkward about it and like just doing my best. But I was like, dude, I have a hard time with math already, so I don't know how I'm going to explain it to you. Like, I can't even explain it to you in English. How am I supposed to explain it to you in Spanish? I don't get it. I simply don't.
And it's a hard thing to balance.
Yeah.
Like, it really is, especially when you have ladies that come into the boutique and they ask you, ¿hablas español?
Yeah.
And you're like, I always say, entiendo, pero para platicar, no.
I just say yeah.
No. I say no.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to expect me to fully have a full conversation with them in Spanish, and then they don't understand me, and they're like, you don't speak Spanish at all. Yeah. So I feel like I can understand you, and I'm going to help you in my best capacity. And it's so funny because then within my family, my sister speaks it a little more fluently, but also her now fiance, his parents mostly speak Spanish. So she speaks a lot more Spanish on the regular versus myself. I have the small conversations with my family here and there, but we speak Spanglish. Yeah. Like, most of our conversations are in English, but every now and again we'll slip in, we'll have to, there's certain words we can't say in English that translate well. So we use Spanish. And so whenever I'm talking to my cousins, it's funny because, like I said, most of them do speak a little more fluently than I do. And so I get embarrassed. I'm like, never mind, I don't want to talk to y'all anymore.
I think that whenever a customer comes up to me and they want me to speak Spanish, or I've had this even happen at the grocery store, and also I even had my car towed at one time, and there was a Spanish family I had to help. Like, people will just come up to me and be like, ¿hablas español? And I'm like, yeah. I think people just appreciate that you can, even if you're not speaking it perfectly. Of course, I have an accent. My first, language would be, English, right? So I have a very thick Southern accent. So when I speak Spanish, that comes through in that language. So I think that they just appreciate that I understand them, that I'm going to help them, and that there is somebody that's like translating it versus there's nobody translating and you have no idea especially with that one time where my car got towed, so I had to get dropped off at the repo place. Yeah. The little car pound. And so I saw them struggling to understand like how much cash to give them. And obviously you could get swindled out of a lot of money. It's really expensive. So they were kind of, and that was probably a lot of money. It was like $400 to bail my car out, and it was only there for like an hour.
Girl.
I cried. I cried. Not including the Uber that I had to pay for to get to my vehicle. But yeah, I was just embarrassed and I didn't want any help from anybody. So I was like, I'm just going to take myself to the car pound and get my car out.
That's a scary situation to handle by yourself.
I was just so embarrassed that I did that. I parked at a Home Depot, not an Office Depot, and my car was gone when I got back. And I was just so embarrassed and I didn't want any help. So I was like, you know what? I got this. I can get to there. I know what to do. And I helped the family out a little bit and they felt good about it. And we all got our cars out.
I would say the Hispanic community is, it can go one or two ways, but I've always been thankfully on the side of, I get you don't understand Spanish, but I'm not going to hold it to you. Because I know a lot of other people who've had the vice versa experience of, you don't speak Spanish? Why don't you speak Spanish? Why don't you speak it fluently?
I was going to say, that's a really good point because I did do a beauty pageant. I tried out, it was my father. He was real excited about it. It was when he decided to be Colombian again, I guess. I don't know. So he was like, you know what? You should definitely do it. It was Miss Columbia, Houston, Texas. I competed. I don't even remember what year. I was like 18 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. Some of these girls have competed in pageantry. You do it like when you're a child, teen. And I had never competed ever. So I was very out of my depth. I was third place, so I was pretty surprised that I even made it that far. And I didn't speak as well Spanish as the other girls. Everybody else spoke very fluently, and I didn't speak very fluently. And of course, I have an accent, so that really affected my confidence because you have to interview. And I decided to interview, and everybody's, of course, interviewing in Spanish. All the judges speak Spanish. Everyone speaks Spanish. And I felt an immense pressure because I had sponsors. People like I had a salon that sponsored the hair and makeup that they did for me. A car company lent me a car for the parade. I got a Corvette. It was pretty cool. And so, yeah, you had like small businesses like sponsoring you. And I didn't want to go over there and make a fool of myself. And I decided with the guidance of a coach, because my dad knew a lady that was like, my dad knows a lot of people. He knew a lady that did broadcasting. And she kind of helped me do walking because it's a lot to learn. You think walking down a runway is easy?
No.
It's not. You got to walk slow. Spoiler alert. You think you want to go fast, but actually you have to go slowly. It's very painful in those very high heels. I don't know how I did it. But she helped me walking. She was like, you know what? You're a very confident girl. Just go in there and say, you're going to speak English. And I did that. And I thought, okay, well, I tanked it, but whatever. I'm going to go and be myself. Tell them exactly who I am, and I speak English, and that is the language I feel comfortable in. And that's the language I can tell you all about myself. But that doesn't make me any less of a Latin woman.
Yes.
So I think that that's really important to think about sometimes as well. Just because you don't speak the language perfectly that you're from doesn't make you any less a part of that culture. Or you can, now you got your Latina card revoked.
I'm taking it away from you.
Yeah, I think that was that helped me grow into my culture a little bit and embrace it because I think before that I was very self-conscious about it.
Oh, I can imagine so.
And if you want to know, they ask you a question in front of everybody, those high pressure questions, and the girls are like, I don't know, I like chicken nuggets. And you see the girls cracking under pressure. It's because you have a long day.
Oh, I'm sure.
The lights are on you. They put caterpillar eyelashes you can't even see.
Maybe it's for the best that you can't even see, right?
He's like, oh God. They ask you a question, and of course, when they asked me a question, I choked.
What'd you say?
I just decided I was supposed to say my answer in English, and I switched it, and I tried to do it in Spanish, and I choked in front of everybody, and so obviously I lost.
Hey everyone, it's Cecile, and I'm honored to say that next week we will be celebrating 13 years of Brooks Boutique. The 13th year is the lace anniversary, and we're ready to celebrate with you in style. On Sunday, October 20th, we'll be hosting a private in-store and virtual celebration, Luxe and Lace. Wear your best lace attire and join us for brunch, champagne, and your favorite activity, shopping. Tickets are on sale now until October 16th for both in person and virtually. This is a private event, so get your ticket now before it's too late. Every ticket is also a bazaar entry for some fabulous prizes. Additional bazaar tickets are also available for purchase. The inventory at this event are exclusive items we've been holding specially for Luxe and Lace, and you do not want to miss it. Thank you for your many years of love and support.
All right. Thank you, guys. We are right back. Sorry about that. My phone actually died, so we had to charge it a little bit so that we could round this one out. But we're having so much fun speaking with you. Okay. God, I was going to say, so that was basically to round that story out. That was my coming to Jesus moment about I am Latin. I'm a Latin woman. I'm proud of my heritage. And no matter what, nobody can take that away from me. Even if I don't speak the language perfectly, I am still, a Latin American woman.
Yeah,
So I think that was what I wanted to get out of that story. And I wanted to ask you if you had a moment like that.
A true moment of reflection like that? Kind of, yes. Mm-hmm. In college, I went to West Texas A&M, mm-hmm. and it's predominantly white, which is whatever, I don't care. But it wasn't so obvious to me because I'm kind of blind to it. I'm a standalone person, mm-hmm. but really, whenever I got there, there's only one other Hispanic in our program, mm-hmm. in our theater program, and his name is Ray. He's amazing. I love Ray. Mm-hmm. But whenever I came in, everyone thought I was spicy, and I didn't know what the heck that meant. And it's so funny because there's so many stories I can relate back to, but I didn't know what that meant. Mm-hmm. But looking at it, the girls in there were so soft-spoken, and I'm not a soft-spoken person, but it comes from the lineage of women from me. My mom has never been soft-spoken. My mom is a very loud, not in a negative way, but a very bright woman. Yeah. She, much like Cecile, they enter a room and their laugh just really catches everyone. And my mom doesn't know a stranger. My mom can talk to anyone. And so I kind of got that from her. But a lot of the people there in college tried to pinpoint my personality on my culture. And not that I fought against it, but I didn't understand it. I was just like, that's just who I am. Now that I'm out of college and have been in those spaces of me being a minority in a room, I understand, well, that's just who I am. That comes from my culture. That comes from my mom. That comes from my grandma. And knowing those, that lineage, it's that I'm proud to be that. Yeah. You can't take it out of me. I can't stop it. I can't, and I won't ever change it. Mm-hmm. So it was a reflective moment in that, but also too, now I know I'll be the minority whenever I go back to Mexico, and mm-hmm. Same thing. I have a little bit of a Texan accent. Yeah, I mean, I have my husband's friend. Drawl. Yeah, he says I'm Texican. I don't speak I speak Spanglish, and I find that I correlate with that too. But I still don't want to miss those opportunities of when embracing my culture. Yeah, I come that my heritage is Hispanic and Mexican, so.
And sometimes finding pride in that can be difficult. So I think sharing stories like that can help anyone if you're ever dealing with that feeling lesser than.
Yes.
Then you can kind of reflect on this and be like, you know what? That is my culture. I'm proud to be part of it. And, I am American and I'm also Latin, and I'm proud of that. And it is a mix between both. I am a little American and I have a little bit of the Latin in me. So it's, it's a fine balance of having both in you. And it sometimes can be a little difficult to come to reason. You feel like, oh, I need to be more Latin or I need to be more American, but really it should just be a balance, and we should embrace everyone.
And both are in me. Like,
Yeah.
I am a true, I'm American, okay? I'm happy to be American.
Yeah, me too.
But also, I'm happy to be Mexican. Like,
Yeah.
I share both those prides as equal, because they're both in me.
Yeah. And that is awesome. And I guess that's kind of how we wanted to round this episode out. We wanted to talk a little bit about what working together was like, and then also, our Latin heritage that we also share. So yeah, that is pretty much everything. If you want to follow us here, that is Things in My Head podcast on YouTube. We truly appreciate it if you guys liked and subscribed. Leave a comment down below. We are begging to hear from you guys. Please.
Please.
I respond to them. I try and respond as quickly as possible. If I see it, I definitely respond to it. And yeah, we just love feedback. We'd love to hear if you've had a moment like that where you're like realizing your culture and finding pride in it and feeling confidence in it. And if you want to follow us at the boutique, that's brooksboutique.com. You can find any luxury finds there. It is I Love Brooks Boutique on Instagram and I Love Brooks Boutique on TikTok. And then on Facebook, it's Brooks Boutique Pearland. On Facebook, we do 4 lives a day. The amazing Lauren is always on there, and she does such a great job, and she's so fun.
She is fun.
And if you ever need a real estate team, you know who to call. It is Sweet and Petite Duo. That is Cecile and Brooke. They're a great, fantastic team. So you get 2 for basically 1, which I think is a great deal in itself. If you're looking for a home or selling a home, go hit them up. They always respond on their Sweet and Petite Duo page. That is on IG. That's pretty much everything. Thank you again, Saraiah. I want to thank you one more time for being here, being on. It's not easy to be on a podcast, and it is a little different. So I did want to make sure I thanked you for coming on, getting here early. And yeah, I'm super excited to have this episode. We'll see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.